Greetings, podcast listeners. Welcome to episode 88, How Karma Works. This one has been a long time coming, and I think we are now well prepared to dive into this topic. So listen into how karma works and enjoy the episode.
You're listening to Let's Get Metaphysical. This podcast explores the spiritual and metaphysical world through the experiences and opinions of the host and those interviewed. It should not necessarily be seen as direct endorsement or personal advice to our listeners. We encourage you to use your own discernment, judgment, and intuition regarding anything you learn from this show.
Let's get meta.
Welcome to the Let's Get Metaphysical Podcast. I'm your host, Renata Hana Maniaci, here to remind you that you are a divine spiritual light being having a temporary human experience here on lovely planet Earth, as she is making her way into the fifth dimension with all of us on her back. This is episode 88, How Karma Works. Now, if you have not listened to our previous episode 87, Past Lives Matter, I suggest listening to that episode before jumping into this one. That episode is definitely the precursor to this one. It will be difficult to understand how karma works if you do not understand how reincarnation works. So go check that one out if you have not checked it out yet. But this is an episode that I have been really excited to do for a while. Karma is a really misunderstood topic, at least in the West, at least in the United States, at least in the ways that I hear people talk about karma colloquially. It's a misunderstood topic. You know, people think karma is a bitch and you know, what goes around comes around, which is absolutely true, but people usually only reference it in the negative connotation, right? As though karma was all about payback and it's only about payback, and people really focus on, you know, when somebody does something bad and that it's going to come back to them. And that is true. That's absolutely true. That's how it works. We're going to get into the mechanics of that, but karma is so much more than that, and it has so much more structure to it. I know that might sound weird to say. There's so much that goes into karma that we can't see and we cannot understand. Most people cannot understand on this level of existence on this planet because we don't see everything. We don't see, you know, if we trip and scrape our knee in the street while wearing a nice suit, we don't understand why that had to happen right then. We just don't see it. We think that, oh shoot, I was clumsy, or, you know, why did that happen? Etc. Like we're left in the dark. We are left in the dark about what happens to us and why, or what befalls us and why, or everything that happens in our life. We are mostly left in the dark about why that happens. And we just assume that it is random because we have no educational system in this planet teaching us from a young age, which maybe we should have, about how karma works and what it is. But how can I advocate for something like that people don't even understand that they've had multiple lifetimes? So, you know, that's fine. It's where we are. It's where this planet is. But karma is so misunderstood because we can't see the reasons why things happen. We're left in the dark. We don't have the awareness, the prismatic awareness. We're not worthy enough of having the awareness right now in this lifetime as to why something happens the way that it does. Now, when we pass from this lifetime, when we leave the body, as we talked about in the previous episode, there's a stage of that reincarnation cycle that many call the life review, where you are literally with your guides and the Lord of Karma or Lords of Karma, and you are looking over different things that happened in this lifetime, or choices that you made, things that befell you, and you can see why they happened that way. You get in a car accident, you'll be able to see why. And it might have to do with something 12 lifetimes ago. And it was just the right time, cosmically, in your soul's journey, for that karma to come back to you in the form of a car accident, right? Or you will see in your life review that you made this choice, and then you will see the effects and ramifications of that choice and how they played out for the others involved in that situation, be it positive or negative. And of course, we hope that we positively affected somebody by the choices that we make and not negatively affected. But on that other level of consciousness, this is what I'm getting at here, is we can't see that now where we are. But on other levels of consciousness and awareness, you can see it. And it doesn't become so cloudy and dark and just completely unfathomable. That's what karma is. I could just as easily have called this episode, Karma is Unfathomable. So I've already kind of gotten into it, which is fine, but I'm going to stop here for a moment and do my prayer request so that we can invite the angels and ascended masters into this conversation. Masters and angels, I request your presence, guidance, support, and assistance in talking about karma and how karma works for this episode of the podcast. Please allow this episode to find whoever needs to hear it, and allow any and all clarity on this topic to come through so that we might all have a better, more true and pure understanding of karma. Please help me to speak the truth, know the truth, be the truth, and become the truth. Thank you with gratitude and full faith. Bless creation. So as I'm settling in here, karma is unfathomable. And in these human bodies, the grand majority of us are left in the dark about why things happen the way they do on this planet. Especially in the West here. In other cultures and other religions, Eastern cultures, reincarnation is just a known fact, that they just accept that as the truth. We're not so much taught that here in the US or on this side of the planet so much. Just as evidence, we hear a couple years ago that whole YOLO saying. I mean, you only live once. I think I've said this before. I've never heard something so ridiculous, but that's fine, But what we want to talk about today is trying to shine a light on the true nature of karma, not the malevolent and misunderstood and pessimistic version of karma that people seem to have in Western culture. It's just because they can't see, right? So I am going to be referencing a little bit from The Light Shall Set You Free, book by Dr. Norma Milanovic. I referenced it in the last couple of episodes. And again, if you're just joining us and you haven't heard me reference this book before, I reference this book because there's just so much truth in it. I won't say it's 100% true, but there's a very high level of truth, and it's a great place to start if you want to learn about things like karma, reincarnation, the universal laws, the ascended masters, tests of initiation. It's just a really good basic thing. If your mind is structured the way that mine is and does really well with things like chapters in this 3D Earth experience, which mine seems to really thrive on. So I'm going to read a little bit about what this book has to say about karma, just to help to guide this conversation a little bit today. So karma is the manifestation of the law of cause and effect, which is one of the universal laws that is discussed in this book. It goes through all of the universal laws, which we will do on future episodes. As it applies to the results of choices and actions we take within a framework of free will. If our thoughts, desires, passions, words, and actions are benevolent and are helpful to others, they are considered to be good karma. We are rewarded for good karma in this life, between incarnations, and even in later lives. Plato referred to a tenfold return for the good we do for individuals and the services we provide for others and the world. Given our mass consciousness of taking the preventative measures of planning future financial security and creating optimal health, it would seem wise to incorporate this law of cause and effect. And this would mean consciously avoiding negative entanglements and instead storing all good thoughts, words, deeds as collateral for this lifetime and for those to follow. I mean, it's kind of, some people, this is just how they live, and this makes sense to them, this resonates with them, but for so many people, this is just such a brand new concept, right? We're taught and encouraged so much to live for the moment in this lifetime, to live for the day, which we should, we can do, especially if it's positive, right? But like the idea that you can collect positive actions and events, and then those can pay dividends in the next lifetime, that's kind of a foreign concept to us, because if it were ingrained in our society, nobody would ever steal. Nobody would ever kill. If people really understood past lives and really understood reincarnation, really understood karma, there couldn't be as much negativity as we see in the world, because people would understand that does come back. And it has nothing to do with retribution. It is a law. It is a universal law everywhere in this galaxy, other galaxies, this solar system, other solar systems throughout the universe and multiverses. Karma exists because it's a universal law. It doesn't just exist here on Earth. It exists on every planet, in every dimension, on every level of consciousness, because it's a universal law. So, when people are talking about karma as this like retribution thing, that's one way to focus on it. And of course we would focus on it being, in that negative sense, in that negative connotation, because we're on this planet, where it's 50-50 and hopefully moving up and up and up. And, I do say that we're at a tipping point now. This could look very different in the next couple of years, maybe, hopefully. I don't know how fast things change, but it's not that. It's just a law. And if anything, karma is neutral in that it rewards as much as it quote unquote punishes. But it's you. It's you, and it's you and your choices. It's your soul and your choices in this lifetime and all of your past lifetimes, which is why past lives matter as to where you are now in your life. If you're in a shitty situation with no money and poor health and et cetera, it is because of what you have or have not done in this lifetime and in your past lifetimes. And this is where I lose some of you listening, because it is really difficult for humans to take responsibility for their own lives. It's really hard for some humans to take responsibility for the situations that they find themselves in. This is where the whole victimhood thing, and this happened to me, blah, blah, blah. I empathize with that on a certain level of consciousness. I do, because that is where that soul is at that moment in time. And that has to be a very hard space to be in. And the truth of it is, anything that we experience is directly related to our karma. And we must take responsibility for exactly where we are in our lives. Everything that happens to us is a result of lessons that you need to learn, evolutions you need to go through, and karma Whether it's good karma, you're getting a promotion, you found your life partner, you have wonderful kids, you get to go to Waffle House for lunch in my case, or bad karma that you are paying down. You break your pinky toe, you get in a car accident, you have an argument with somebody on the street over nothing, whatever. All of these things are guided by your karmic consequences or karmic, whatever, successes, positive things. And I know some of you are thinking, oh, how dualistic of you, Ren. Good karma, bad karma. This is just what it is. It's a law of cause and effect. We look at it because we live in a dualistic world. We live in a black and white world, a yes-no world, a right-wrong world, whatever. Hopefully we're moving out of that. But it's not even about that. It is just cause and effect. It's a universal law, cause and effect. So, yes, if something that you perceive as negative happened to you or happens to you or is befalling you, that is directly happening because it is supposed to based on your karma and the lessons you need to learn. Take it or leave it. Some of you might be saying, no, this isn't my fault. It's that person's fault. It's that organization's fault. It's this company's fault. It's somebody else's fault, but it's not my fault. That's fine. You can stay in that level of consciousness as long as you want. And you may have been in this level of consciousness for heaps and heaps of lifetimes. Who knows? But so many of you are ready to take responsibility or already have come to that understanding that everything befalling you, you are responsible for on some level. You are responsible for everything that happens to you. And that includes the good. If you are having a great life, you're getting all the money you need, you have great health, you have great friends, happy with your life, happy with your job, all of those things is a result of the good deeds that you have done in the past, how you have served yourself, served your family, your community, and humanity. It's all connected. And it is completely unfathomable. It's completely unfathomable. This is so orchestrated, divinely orchestrated. Karma is so divinely orchestrated that it would blow our minds to actually see the cogs and workings and awareness that goes into each and every moment of each and every one of our lives. It's unfathomable. We can't understand it at least in this level of consciousness. At least I can't understand it in this level of consciousness. And what's coming in right now is to talk about, the karma. We have karma as people, right? I have karma, you have karma. We all have karma because it's a universal law, like I said, applies to every being in the entirety of creation, not just here on Earth. But countries create karma. Governments create karma. Laws create karma. Companies create karma. Political rallies create karma. Prayer creates karma. Blessings create karma, I have to address what we're experiencing as a planet. This is not random, right? Because nothing is. If you can see that, if you can understand just how much your past lives do matter and how it affects where you are now, you can take a responsibility for where you are now. We must expand that to take responsibility for where we are as a planet. We are going through an utter transformation right now. Nobody can deny that. You can all you want, but it would be silly. And why? None of this is random. None of what we're going through is random right now. If you and I individually have karma, we have collective karma. This planet has karma. And we're going through some growing pains right now. Don't know how long they'll last. I have no idea. I hope that I hope and pray that in my lifetime we will have made it to the other side of this transformation, because I'd love to see it. Really love to be here to see it. But I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But the point is, everything that we see around us happening in the world is karma playing out. The good things, the bad things. Unfortunately, we seem fixated on only the negative things, as though only negative things happen on this planet, which is crap. That's not true. There's so many beautiful, positive things that are happening on this planet every second, every moment, every day. And humans, the news, whoever runs the news, they just want to focus on the negative. Why? Fear. Easy to control people. Wow. But it's all karmic too. The things that are happening on the planet, the things happening with countries, natural disasters, elections, wars, famines, all of it. It all ties back into karma. Believe it or not. Believe it or not. And we, on this level of consciousness, from what we see, right? What we can see, because remember, we have blinders on, all right? We're not seeing everything. But from what we see, oh man, this natural disaster happened in this country and all these people are suffering. And yes, that it's so true on that level, that is accurate. And we feel like we want to help them, and we should probably help them, right? But why did that disaster happen there? It's not that you don't help them. It's not that you don't do whatever you can to ameliorate the situation, but it happened there not randomly. Countries have karma. Governments have karma. Everyone has karma, just like we have individual karma. And that can be really great karma. The US has been blessed for quite a while to have the good karma to be the place where new things are discovered, like really beautiful things, really beautiful companies, and, all kinds of things that help people. This country has been that for a long time. It's had the karma to do that for whatever reason, right? And, other countries have different karma. And obviously we're creating some probably pretty serious karma right now by what's going on in this country at this time. But this is just to expand you, to take off the blinders a little bit and see a little bit more of the unfathomable truth of what karma is and how it works. So let me just take another peek in this book and see if I can't find another thing I wanted to share. So yeah, I kind of stopped reading that right in the middle of a thought, which was, we were talking about all of the good deeds that you can do and how that can pay positive dividends in future lifetimes, right? And then it goes on to say, on the other hand, if our thoughts, desires, passions, and actions are malevolent or harmful to others, we accumulate bad karma. The harmful things that we have done must be balanced with wisdom and positive thoughts and acts, or by living our lives in ways that will help us to learn the suffering and pain that have resulted as consequences of our misdeeds. Karma is not a punishment. Rather, it is a learning experience designed to help us grow to higher levels of spirituality. And this is the key here. That's what it is. I mean, I couldn't have said it better, so that's why I'm reading it, right? Karma is not a punishment. Karma is not a punishment. It is a learning experience designed to help us grow to higher levels of spirituality. And I think what I was saying before about taking responsibility for your life, taking responsibility for everything that's happening in your life, it brings you one step closer to overcoming your negative karma, because you see that whatever is befalling you is for a reason. And if you can accept that, you can just shoot ahead in evolution. It means that you understand that if something befalls you, you're just paying off something for some other thing. And by the way, by the accounts that I've heard, the Lord of Karma or Lords of Karma, those beings that are directly involved with this, let's say, office in the cosmic divine sense of how the universe is run, they're actually really benevolent. They don't wish you to feel pain. They don't wish you to go through punishment, but it's a universal law of cause and effect. And so often we don't even receive half of what we deserve for past misdeeds. You might receive a car accident and have a sprained ankle for something that you should have been killed for. That's a strong thing to say. You might have broken your pinky toe, and that was mitigated down from having a brain tumor. Okay. So even those things that befall you are so, in many cases, cut down and watered down from what you actually deserve to pay back, because these are benevolent forces, these deities who run the karmic board, for example. So believe that or not, that's been my experience from understanding that. So let me read a little bit more here. In the past, we accumulated karma over our various lifetimes. We removed old karma very slowly, and most of us faced a backlog of karma that seemed heavy and difficult to overcome. We had hundreds of lifetimes to complete karmic debts in the centuries past. And it kind of goes on to talk about how in this lifetime, everything is kind of sped up because we want to move through our lessons faster as part of helping this planet to evolve into a higher dimension. And if that resonates with you, it resonates with you, but that's kind of beyond the scope of this particular episode. This particular episode, it's just so you have a basic understanding of how karma works. So that you can, what do I want? So that it doesn't have to feel so heavy, so that whatever you are experiencing, you can move beyond, oh, woe is me, or why me, or I'm the victim. So you can move beyond that, because that's heavy in itself. And you can move beyond that into, okay, I take responsibility for what I'm experiencing. And even though I don't see it, even though I'm not aware of why this is occurring in my life right now, I understand that I am responsible for it. And from that point, dare I even say that you could move into a place of gratitude for what you're experiencing, even if it is perceptively negative to you. I mean, that is a sign of evolution. That is a sign of an evolved being. Something you perceive as negative befalls you, and you say, thank you. Even if you don't understand why it's happening, you are grateful that it's not worse based on whatever you did. I wish only blessings and beautiful karma on all of you, and that you may go through all of your experiences, your lessons with ease and with grace, because there's certainly no higher level being, no karmic lord or being on the karmic board that wants you to suffer. That doesn't exist. Karma is not a punishment. So let's not treat it like one. Let's own it, own our karma, and move through it as gracefully and blissfully, dare I say blissfully, as possible. Because whatever you're experiencing, you created on some level. And so you can own that and move through it. And I think that I'm saying this, and what they're saying to me now is that if you can do that with a bit more ease, with a bit more grace, it will be easier and you will move through it faster and it won't be as hard. That's kind of the purpose of this episode, so that it doesn't have to be as hard anymore. So I'll just read a few more things about karma. Karma is documented in our Akashic records. Our Akashic record is a record of all the actions from all of our lifetimes. It includes our thoughts, wishes, desires, words, and actions in all of our existences. When karma refers to the various events of our lifetimes and the things we have learned or need to learn, it plays an important role in our lives, between lives. Any lifetime provides an opportunity to assess what we have learned. We are the sum total of all of our lives and consciousnesses. So I feel that that is a pretty good sum up of karma. I want to read this one last thing that it says about karma kind of near the end of the chapter here. Missions are revealed when karmic slates are clean. Consequently, many souls remain frustrated, for they understand intuitively that there's something they must do, but they cannot see the picture clearly when the veils are down and vagueness prevails. As soon as karmic debts are paid and tests of initiation are passed, missions are revealed. And karma is the balance of positive or negative credit that we accumulate for our thoughts, actions, and behaviors. Karma is accumulated by individuals, groups, and nations. I think that's a really good start for understanding how karma works. And I will leave the episode there for today. So I want to thank you for listening and joining me on that discussion of how karma works. The bonus content for today's episode is going to be a beautiful process about mitigating your karma. There are, believe it or not, there are ways to mitigate your karma. And one of those ways is what we're going to do on the bonus content. So if you are interested in finding out how you can mitigate down your own karma while at the same time blessing those around you and the world around you and helping the earth to progress, then check out the bonus content for this episode at patreon.com/letsgetmeta. I want to thank all of the masters and angels who contributed to this episode and to my clarity around it. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining. And I want to thank you all for listening. Stay positive, stay safe, and stay meta.
The Let's Get Metaphysical podcast is an Up, and Awaken production. Our intention is to raise the vibration of the planet by sharing, validating, and normalizing spiritual and metaphysical experiences. If you are ready to raise your vibration, you might enjoy our free Let's Get Meta Master Clearing. To receive the Master Clearing or to learn more about the podcast, visit letsgetmeta.com. The show is produced and hosted by Renata Maniaci. You can access more awakening content, join our membership community, or become one of our angel donors by visiting upandawaken.com. Thank you for listening. Stay meta.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.